On these two slides, we have some very practical information about disk drives and how to use disk drives and how to make some choices about them. So let's take a look at that. The disk capacity you need depends on how the disk will be used. Well, that makes sense. And distinct types of data should be kept on separate disks. Well, that also makes sense. If I have a database, it would make sense that that would be on one disk, and maybe if I have an operating system, that might be on another disk. So let's take a look here at some of these practical bullet points down here. On servers or high-performance workstations, the operating system installation should be on a separate disk from data and applications. Now, this says on servers. However, I'm going to tell you that I highly recommend this even on a home computer if your computer has the capability. Now, if it's just a laptop and you don't have the capability, you don't have two drives, then that might not be very practical for you. But I want to show you what I have on my system here. So let's just go to my PC here, and I've got a C drive right here. Well, this is a different computer over here, this Bonsai. Looks like it's full. But anyway, I have a C drive over here, and that has my operating system and has my applications. The D drive has all of my data. Now, how did I do that? Well, let me show you. I'm going to go to my D drive, and normally this would be C drive, right? Normally I would, well, actually, let me go back to C drive for a minute. C, users, Roger. And then down here you see, well, normally you should see things like documents, desktop, videos, music, pictures. See all these up in here on this left-hand side? You should normally see those here. But you see that they're not here. Well, there's a reason they're not here. Let me show you where they are and show you how you would change them. They are on D drive, users, Roger, and here they are: desktop, documents, downloads, favorites, links, music, and so on. So just for fun here, let's take a look at how that was done. I right-clicked on documents. I went down to properties and I picked this location tab. And here I changed this from C to D and then told it to move. And it moved all of the information that was originally on the C drive to the D drive. And now it thinks that this is the standard place to put documents rather than the C drive. So now whenever I have documents, or whenever I save a document, it goes to my D drive, not to my C drive. Now the beauty of that is that if I have a crash or if I have some problems with my computer, I can rebuild my operating system on my C drive and not touch any of my data. All I have to do when I'm done is go back to my users folder and remap those drives back again to my D drive, and everything is right back in place again. I've done it many times and it works beautifully. So I highly recommend keeping the C drive for your operating system and your applications, and then putting your data all on your D drive. All right, let's go back here again. Virtual memory should be on its own disk if possible. Now this one I don't do on my own computer. Let's find out what we're talking about. Remember, virtual memory, we've talked about virtual memory before. Remember that is, if I've got RAM, right, and I've got a whole bunch of RAM, and this RAM gets full, virtual memory is where I can take some of this RAM and move that off. So here's this portion of RAM here. I can move that off to a file, which we call virtual memory, on my hard drive, and then move it back on again when I'm done. All right, we're going to find that. I'm going to go to settings, and I'm going to hit system here. And once I'm in system, I will go down to, and this is always, by the way, they keep making this thing harder and harder to find. Let's see, what was it under? They keep changing this thing on me. It's under About, there we go, and Advanced System Settings. This brings up actually an old window that was on the control panel rather than on the settings. And then under the Advanced tab, I want the Advanced tab, and then I want the Performance section here. I'll click Settings, and then the Advanced tab again. And right here is Virtual Memory. And here I can change the size of that paging. We call it the paging file. And that paging file is the file on the disk where the virtual memory exists. So I can click Change here. Now right now I have it set to automatically adjust the size, but I can change that. I can turn that off. I can change the custom size right here. I can say what size I want it. Right? And enter a numeric value. I didn't enter a numeric value. So anyway, this is the area where I have control over how my virtual memory works. Now I'm going to turn automatic back on because it seems to work well for me the way it is. And I'll just click restart later because I don't want it to actually make any changes. Did it actually make changes? It shouldn't have actually made any changes. Change? No. Okay. Let's click cancel there. There we go. All right. Use RAID as fault tolerance option to combine multiple disks to make a single volume. Now this is actually something I've thought about doing recently, and let me show you why. Let me go back here and look at my X, Y, and Z drives. Notice they all say backup. I've got on my X drive, this is the backup for my. On my Y drive, I've got my backup for my D drive, and on my Z drive, I've got my backup for my E drive. All right, so these three up here, C, D, and E, are backed up to my X, Y, and Z drive. But if we look over here at my disk management, it'll take a moment to load here. You'll see that these are rather large drives, and they are not that full. As a matter of fact, let's take a look at them here. Go to my PC. You see here's my X, my Y, and my Z, and I've got quite a bit of space on them. Well, if I combined these to make them look like one big drive first, like a big RAID drive, then I could make better use of this slack space here and make more efficient use of it. So I actually am thinking about doing that. However, I also want to say that RAID is, at least as of recent versions of Windows, not the only way that we can do it. We have another way that we can do it as well, and that is called storage spaces. Now, servers have something called storage spaces direct, but Windows itself has something called storage spaces. And let's go into settings, and I'll just type storage spaces, and this is like RAID. It's a new Microsoft version of RAID, if you will. You'll see that I have two sections here. This one here is where I would actually combine the disks, and then this is where I would set up the pools and partition out different drives for the different backups. So manage storage spaces, create new pools, and here I can combine those drives, and then from the other one, let's go back here where I was. Once I do that, then I can create pools that I can pull those drives out of for the various backups. And so storage spaces work similar to RAID, except I can do it without even creating dynamic disks. And so this works actually pretty well. I haven't actually played with it on my own computer yet, and I'm kind of looking forward to doing that one day soon. So storage spaces is actually an alternative to RAID, although I could use RAID. And in order to use RAID, what I would have to do would be to go into here, into my disk management, change this to dynamic. And once I've changed these to dynamic disk, then I have the option of new RAID volumes here, or spanned volumes, or striped volumes, or mirrored volumes. I would use, in this case, spanned volumes, and create my one big spanned volume that then I could partition out into the various drives for the 3 backups. All right, let's go on to the next slide here. Factors that affect the speed of hard drives. The disk interface technology. Now we have a few that we can choose from. The oldest, well, I don't know if it's the oldest, but the older technology is called PATA. PATA. And that stands for Parallel Advanced Technology Attachment. You don't really see these very often anymore, but these were large. There was a thing about this size that had just a whole bunch of pins in it like this for the data, like that. And then you had this smaller one for power that you would attach to the drive that had these 4 bigger holes in it like that. Right, that was the PATA. Well, now we have SATA, which is fairly common. SATA has 2 cables that attach. There's a smaller cable, looks about this size, and that is actually for the data. And then you've got a little bit larger cable about this size like that that supplies the power. And so this is more current. This is what you're likely to see in your machine today. There is another one called SAS, and you're not likely to see these on your home computer, but you are likely to see these on servers, where you can pop the disk drive out and then pop it back in. These kind of have a long thing like this on the back that just slides, a little card like that just slides into the back of the slot where the disk drive goes. And by the way, there is one other newer connection type, NVMe. And what these do is connect right to the card slots on the inside, on the motherboard themselves. And so you'll see these are actually becoming a little bit more popular lately. The PCIe slots on the inside of your computer. So these are the interface technologies that you're likely to see. You really won't see this one much today, but these 3 are very much still in use. Servers should have a hard disk drive with a minimum speed of 7,200 RPM. You'll also see quite frequently, if you go out on eBay or Amazon, you'll see some at 5,400 RPM. You'll want to avoid those. Those just run very slow. So look for the 7,200 RPM at least. And then they do tend to get rather expensive when you get to the 10,000 or 15,000 RPM. However, these typically you'll see more on servers than you will on home computers. These are more common on home computers, the 7,200. By the way, there still is quite a delay often. If you haven't used a disk drive for a long time, when you call up that first file, there's a long period of time where you're waiting for it to spin up and get kind of warmed up and going. But once you get it going, then things move along quite rapidly from that point on. The other piece is the cache. There's cache memory built onto the hard drive, and you want 32 to 64 if you can. Now, you'll find this on the hard drive itself, or if you look up the number, the hard drive's ID number, you can find it from the manufacturer. It's really kind of hard to find it once it's been installed in the computer. There is some software that can find it, but it's not easy to look up. So better to look it up from the manufacturer before you buy the disk. All right, that's it for this section.